Hi everybody, Jared Obrecht here with Homestead Financial Mortgage Banker at your service. And today I've got one of my good friends, Cindy Quinn with Midwest Farm and Land. How you doing today?
Hi JR, I'm doing good.
It was a pleasure hanging out with you. Time flies, seems like when we're together talking about business. So we got a very competitive market right now. We wanted to put a video together to kind of walk buyers and other real estate folks kind of through what we're seeing and just kind of help answer some questions and clear a few things up. So one of the questions that I think a lot of people who are selling their home want to know and are maybe a little insecure about is, what do I do to get my home ready to sell?
First of all, I would say call your agent. Call an agent, have us come out, but you're going to want to make sure it's curb appeal is the main thing. Make sure it's decluttered. Things are working properly, like your refrigerator works, all of that stuff works. Change the light bulbs, make sure they all are good. Just an overall, declutter your refrigerator, all those magnets, all those pictures of your kids, get those off there. Just you want it to be as clean slate as you can, and make sure that when they walk in, they can see themselves living there and not you still living there.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
That does. That makes total sense. So how much in advance do you think you need?
Well, that depends on them.
Okay.
How much time and effort and are you going to want to put into it? Or maybe your house is already to sell. I mean,
right.
If you're one of those people that have your house ready and you can have me come and list it today, then it's fine.
So would a couple weeks be plenty of time?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Good to know. And so when you go to sell your home, what do the sellers have to do? Do they have to do anything? Do they have any responsibilities that you can think of?
Sellers, responsibilities, you just need to,
be able to leave for showings and stuff like that.
Be able to leave for showings, yeah. You need to be able to have an open communication, which means that if an agent's trying to call you, remember your house is listed, so you may get several phone calls because people are going to want to get in to see it. So make sure you're available. Text messages is fine too. A lot of people work and they can't be interrupted, but check your phones. Make sure that you're looking at your messages and stuff, because we may have a buyer that needs to get in there. They're from out of town, they're from out of state, they're wanting to get in there as soon as possible, and we cannot show it until you give us permission.
Very true. So what if the house is vacant? What if it's a rehab, it's vacant? Do you stage those? Do you recommend people stage those? Is it a hit or miss? I hear different.
Yeah, it just depends on the price point of the house and where it's located and stuff. In today's market, things are selling pretty fast.
I was just thinking of that.
And so if it's in good condition, I wouldn't stress about it too much. I honestly wouldn't. Of course, a staged home is going to sell faster than a not staged home. I mean, there's a lot of research done on that, but you're also getting into more money, finding someone to stage it for you, or you going to the effort of doing all of that. So
the game has changed a little bit here over the last year. It has. So what we used to fall back on with even open houses and the time of a build up on those, there's not enough time. It sells pretty quickly. So,
yes, you're right.
But the old school would be, to have all those things in place. So how do you determine the value of the home if you're going to list a home?
Comparables. So what has sold in the area, and I do the last 6 months. We used to actually do the year, but things are changing so fast. 6 months is about as long as you want to go because prices are changing so fast.
So I'm coming to you, I want to list my home. How long does it take you to list after I tell you I want to do it? When can people start seeing it on the market?
Pretty quick. I mean, as far as, if you're ready, the house is ready, I'm going to take pictures, videos probably, the drone videos. If we're talking about a house on acreage, we'll do a drone video. So the amount of time that I can get my videographer and photographer in there, you're looking at 2 or 3 days. But once that's all done, then it just all goes. So you're talking less than a week,
Gotcha.
3 days. So you call me on a Monday, we start the process on Monday. I would be disappointed if we don't have it on the market and live by Thursday morning.
Okay, cool. So it happens all pretty quickly here. So with the buyer side, a lot of people want to know what inspections are, what appraisals are, who pays for what. You know, those are, people are trying to figure out how much money they're going to spend.
Right.
So typically, paint a picture for somebody who's thinking about buying, and what's that look like to them?
So if you're thinking about buying, you're gonna have your appraisers. So in our area, they're about $400 to $500, depending on the size of the house. And that's money up front that you pay them. And then the appraiser fees are in their loan, so that's not money that you have to bring.
Typically, no.
No. So that's basically about all that you're gonna have to pay for
So
up front.
the inspection, about $400 or $500, right?
Right.
And
I
then-
mean, don't quote me on that because you know all
Because-
inspection, and if you've got a bigger house, and then there's a shed that you want the shed in. So all
Oh,
of
right.
that, but I'm just
or
giving
sewer,
an average.
or radon, or
Yes,
you know,
see,
some of
there's
those
all
things.
different inspectors for all things like that, and I have a list of inspectors for all of that.
Gotcha.
So
So we have appraisals, we have inspections, we have the certified market analysis. These are all developing quality of the home, the value of the home,
Right.
to make sure that you're not paying. So people think, oh, well, I don't want to pay too much for a house. You're really probably not, unless you agree to it,
right,
because there's the appraisal and
right.
of course, your research that goes into it. So I think that makes buyers a little bit more comfortable knowing that, just those simple facts,
Right.
that they're not going to get in over their head. So with this market being so competitive, let's talk about being contingent or non-contingent upon maybe selling a property,
Or-
etc. Like, how does that weigh on a transaction? If you're a buyer and explain to them how that's important, an important piece
right.
to the seller.
Right. So, okay. So if you're a buyer, you have your house on the market. Strongly recommend that your house is on the market before we go into contingency.
And why?
Because that tells the seller that we're presenting this offer, and it tells them, yes, I'm ready to move forward. My house is on the market. Possibly your house has an offer on it already. But both of those are two different contingencies, because one contingency is that the house sells, okay, or the house goes under contract. The other contingency is it closes, because unfortunately things happen, and so we want to make sure that your house closes, because a lot of times people need that money to be able to start
Right.
and
Hence the
advance.
contingency.
So-
We need
right,
to sell this,
right,
or maybe
right.
your debt ratio.
But on a seller's side, we're going to give them 60 days or 90 days to get their house under contract, or to get it. If it's already under contract, we already know a closing date. So we're going to go off of that closing date. And if that closing date doesn't happen, then the buyer has the right, or the seller has the right to,
Find a new
cancel
deal,
the
right.
cancel the contract.
So you kind of
and
have
move
little
on.
midpoints here where
Right.
you reconvene.
So it
How you doing?
protects
Have you sold yet? Oh, you got a contract now?
Right.
Okay, cool.
Communication.
Looks like we're 30 days out. You need to check back. So there is a little hand holding that goes
Right.
on there. I like it. So to go back, there are no secrets in real estate. So if you don't have your house listed but you say you do, we're going to know, right?
Oh,
The
absolutely.
listing agent is going to be checking on
Absolutely.
that. So
Even if they have it, because I've been in a situation where they had it for sale by owner. And so what happened was the seller said, okay, we'll do for sale by owner, but if you don't have it sold on your own at a certain amount of time, then you need to list it with a realtor.
I like
And
that.
so that's how it went, and it ended up going to a realtor to list.
So trying to separate yourself, and we're trying to paint a picture here for a lot of buyers so that they know going into this that they got to be pretty aggressive. They got to
Yes.
make sure that their offer stands out. Okay, so some of the things not to do, right, is ask for maybe too much if you know it's a competitive offer. Of course, offer aggressively. What are some things like appraisal gap and escalation clauses that I keep hearing about? Like I know, but I want to hear your words and hear how you explain that.
So an escalation clause. So you're going into a bidding war. You know that there's several offers. So you don't want to lose that chance to make sure that your offer keeps going. Okay, so you're just going to tell your realtor, look, I will go X amount of up to X amount of dollars, and I want to do it in $2,000 increments, or whatever you both decide. But so every time they come back to her and say we've got another offer, it's then okay, this is my offer. This is my offer. So you keep going, because there's always the mystery. You never know what the other party's bidding.
You want the house, but you don't want to overpay, and this
Right.
kind of keeps you under reins where you can really only overpay a couple grand at a time.
Right.
If that's the way you're doing
Right.
it. So kind of keeps you under reins, but lets them know that they're going to be getting maximum
And
dollar
it
for
lets
it.
them know that you're interested. Like, I'm not going to let this go.
Right.
You know.
I like it. The market's just changed so much over the last several years.
It's crazy.
So who pays you? How do you get paid? How do you get
Sellers
the money?
pay the commission.
Okay.
But like you said, today's market, it's crazy.
For sale by owners and stuff like that.
It's crazy. Like, it doesn't. That can also be negotiated.
So
Customarily, the seller pays. The seller is hiring the realtor to list their home and to market their home. So they're paying the commission.
5 to 6%.
Right.
To the listing agent, and the listing agent
It's
has to split
split
that
it
with the
with-
buyer's agent,
with the buyer's
whoever's bringing the buyer.
Right.
So
Right.
buyer doesn't pay for that. Buyer will only pay for when they sell it, right?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
cool. So what would you say to me if I said I wanted to do it for sale by owner? I wanted to sell my house.
I would say, no, you don't.
After you smack me.
No, you don't. You want to sell your house for sale by owner, I strongly recommend you not do that. There's a lot of laws, regulations that, as realtors, you're a finance person, we've taken all the tests. Like, they just don't say go sell.
Right.
There's stuff that you have to follow, and
Some legalities.
just because you're putting your house on the market, yes, it's legal, but you still have to follow those same rules and regulations that we did. And if you don't know what they are, you could really get yourself in a bind. And I don't think it's pleasant.
So what's something that every buyer seller can expect from you as an agent, as a person?
Honesty, integrity. I'm gonna do what I say I'm gonna do, and I'll work hard for you. And
I believe every one of those. I
I'll represent
I never
you.
have to guess what you're
I
thinking.
will definitely give you a voice. That's for sure.
So, what is Dogecoin? Neither do I.
I have no idea. I don't know. It's just sex
I don't either.
I don't know.
We'll go on to the next one. So,
What is it? Do you know?
it's a currency of some sort.
Oh,
But I was
well,
just,
shoot.
I like throwing that question in there because nobody knows. And if you did know, I'd be really impressed. It'd probably go viral. So, we talked about, kind of your side, and, I do a lot of pre-approvals for purchase. Purchase business is my passion. I love dealing with lots of different realtors in a lot of different areas. But ideally, when you get ready to buy a home, the first thing anybody should do is get pre-approved, right?
Oh, absolutely. Especially in today's market. And
For some of the reasons why.
I've actually had people, clients hang up on me because I asked that question after I got, I had a conversation with them, and then I asked, have you been pre-approved? I can send you a lender. They've hung up on me because we don't want to do that. Well, then you're not serious, because right now, sellers will not even look at an offer without a pre-approval attached to it, because they're getting, one, multiple offers, and two, they're selling stuff else. They can go to someone that they know is ready to pull the trigger.
Right.
They give you an offer, you've not been pre-approved. Guess what? You go to the bank, you try to get pre-approved, and you can't. And then that offer, then they've wasted all this time. And this is how I tell the buyers, it gives you buying power. You need buying power in today's
Right.
market.
Shows you're organized. Shows you're ready to go.
You're ready to go.
Got your ducks in a row.
Yeah.
What I see sometimes too is they're looking at a $350,000 house, and then they can only afford a $250,000, and then all of a sudden buying isn't as fun.
Right.
it's just like kind of having the carpet pulled from you. So
Sure.
that's one of the main reasons I like it too. You know, until you have your credit pulled, you really don't know any of those skeletons that may have popped up
Right.
over the last 3 to 6 months.
Exactly.
So just little things like that really help you, is having that buyer pre-approved, having them have a good idea of what their payment is
And what type of loan?
and what type of loan.
Because then I can look and see if we're going on a government site, then I can look and see, and then we can let the sellers know in advance, look, you're gonna have to put handrails on.
Handrails.
You know, handrails, there's a little bit of peeling paint, we're gonna have to cover that up. You know, just simple stuff like that I can look at and just, it's gonna save time,
Mhm.
it's gonna save a lot of heartache, and just get it over with. But we don't know that until we're pre-approved.
So what I'm hearing a lot of mortgage bankers are doing to kind of be more successful in this tough market, you know, I probably, if I write 20 pre-approvals, that's going to only really turn into about 3 contracts.
Right.
It's a lot of busy work, and so we're trying to think outside the box. So what some of us have been doing is making contact with the listing agent to let them know they hear a voice on the other end of somebody who's very active in their business. They can explain that they've already looked at income documents, looked at bank statements, got everything we need, have a good understanding of a timeline. That helps me as a lender be able to close loans in 2 weeks, right? And then when the selling agent hears that, it's a breath of fresh air. They realize one, I'm approachable, or whoever's approachable.
Yeah.
But it's sticking your neck out for your buyer and for your buyer's agent to help them get that through. So
Absolutely, yeah.
we call ours a fast track. I know everybody has their own, but you know, we close loans all the time in 2 weeks or less. So I think that for buyers to understand, get your ducks in a row, be prepared, you know, have the boxes ready, because
Right.
if you really, really want that house, why not? Let's close it in 2 weeks when nobody else, well, I'm not gonna say nobody else can, but a lot of local banks can.
Yeah,
So, you know, I think that works to the buyer's benefit as well.
absolutely, yeah.
So when you hear, and I get this question all the time, but I want to hear your take on it too. So what are my closing costs? Why they ask the realtor versus the lender, a lot of times I don't know. They may think it's just a flat fee, but what is a
What do I tell them?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even try to tell them. I'm like, you have a communication, hopefully you have a good communication with your lender. You need to talk to them and find out for sure what they're, because whatever I'm gonna tell you is not gonna be right. It's not gonna be right because every loan is different.
Mhm.
Every borrower is different, so I won't even attempt that.
So
That's your job.
Wouldn't you agree? And I kind of was leading you here on this, but I'm just going to be blunt. Wouldn't you agree that a lot of times when they say what are the closing costs, they want to know one thing, and that is how much cash you have to bring to closing?
Right.
That's 2 different things.
Right. 2 different things, and again, something that I can't tell them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It comes from you.
It has to come. It has to come from the lender. So that's not a tough conversation. People think it is, but it's really not. But when I hear that question, I get it all the time, and I know the realtors get it, and then they're calling me, and then I have to say, well, do they mean cash to close, or do they literally mean the closing cost? Like, because we don't know exactly what that is
Because
until
there's
you get
credits
in.
that go in with that, because they're going to get tax credits. Sometimes there's seller's credits that they're added. So yeah, and all of that goes in, and the lender's going to give you that answer.
9 times out of 10, they want to know how much cash they're bringing to
Right.
close. But if they've talked to somebody else that may have not nurtured the conversation or
Right.
the file, then you will tell them that, and they're like, oh well, so and so was $1,800. Like, that is your closing cost, not your cash to close. If it's a conventional loan or that requires a down payment, so I feel like buyers need to understand there's closing costs, and then there's down payment, and then there's the total amount cash to close. But it seems to get presented as a closing cost statement. So, not to
Right.
confuse people, but
Right.
just know what you're asking for, because
Right.
especially if you're shopping, you may be misled and then not have been as thorough, and then you get 2 weeks in and you're like, ooh, I'm just paying
And
$1,000 more in closing costs
This
because
is
I wasn't.
exactly why you need a lender that you have a personal, maybe not a personal relationship, but a personal business relationship.
Yeah.
Someone that you can talk to, and that would be you, because I feel like that you go beyond and above to make sure your clients feel like they know what they're doing. Like
Mhm.
you'll answer phone call. I know you do because you
Right.
do it for me. But you answer phone calls and that you answer questions just because you want everybody to make
Mhm.
sure that they feel comfortable in the process, and that takes away a lot of pressure from me, and it just puts the buyers at ease, and it just makes the whole transaction go better for everyone.
Well, thank you. I think another reason why I do that too is I don't want you running around showing houses when they're not comfortable with the payment.
Right.
You know, that's
absolutely.
another thing too. So, got to keep that open communication. So I think as long as you're going local with a mortgage bank or somebody who's very approachable and who's answering your calls that you
Right.
trust. I mean, there's a lot of good lenders out there. I've been doing it a long time. Hopefully, I'm getting pretty good at it. But there's a lot of good lenders out there. We're not trying to take any bread and butter off
absolutely.
anybody's table, but
Absolutely.
you got to make sure that they're calling you back. They're moving quickly. In this market, you're going to lose if you don't have somebody waiting there with the catcher's mitt,
Right.
waiting on the next step.
Right.
So once you get a contract, your house is under contract. You know the house of your dreams. Where does it go from there?
Okay, so once we go under contract, usually there's a clause in there that we've got 15 days to get our inspections. So your next phone call is going to, well, first of all, we're going to let your lender know, hey, we're under contract. I'll take care of all that. I'll send it all to your lender, the contracts, everything that they need to get started on their end. Now remember, you've already done a lot of the back work, so the lender's going to be ready to go with that. So they were just waiting for numbers. So now we're going to send them numbers. Then we're going to call inspectors, get them in there as soon as we can. Then we're going to do condition of premises. Is there anything that we want to ask the sellers for? Now, whenever we do that, we're not asking them to fix silly things. We're looking for safety and functional, or safety and structural.
Mhm.
Safety and structural. You know, what GFIs are big ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I
We
agree
see
with
that all
that
the time.
100%.
Yeah. Have
You
the
know?
GFIs put in
Yeah,
before you.
especially if you have kids, but it doesn't matter. I could drop a hairdryer in the bathtub just as quick as a kid could.
Right.
So, you know, it's fun.
Please don't do that.
No, I know. So, but you know, so that's what we're doing. Once we agree on that, then we move on. We let the lender know. By this time, the lender has probably already called for the appraiser to come out, and so we're moving right along.
So what is Dogecoin?
What kind of currency?
Digital currency, kind of like
Digital.
Bitcoin, I think. I don't know. It was a Saturday Night
Oh.
Live special, and the guy asked it, and then Elon Musk explains what it is, and then he says, "I just have one more question." He asked the same question. I still don't.
What did the curtain cost?
That one is-
So yeah. Yeah. So I get calls, and I tell them, you know, you need to get pre-approved. I can send you to a lender, you know, what have you. Well, my credit score's not that good. Well, what's their credit score? Where do we need to have them? What's the minimal? That
The
we
minimum
need
for
to-
FHA is 580.
Okay.
That usually requires some compensating factors like a little bit more assets, or 600 gets a little bit less stringent on
Okay.
the underwriting guidelines, and then 620 and then 640. Really 640 and above is the Wild West. Everybody gets a loan, not really, but pretty much. It's
Right.
a lot easier to get a loan. You're not going to be penalized with rate, a higher rate by having less. But even if it's a 500, those folks can a lot of times have things that can be removed from the credit report, and the credit can be reran. And we're not talking like next week, but we're talking, you know, somewhere between 45 and 90 days.
Yeah.
They could be a
That's
homeowner, and a lot of it, you know, could be a negotiated collection, or it could just be some
Right.
old lates that were inaccurate and removing it. But we have a team, we have a credit
And
repair
you guys
team.
will help them.
We do that. We do a lot of the minor stuff ourselves, but we then farm out to a Southern Illinois gentleman who really just focuses on credit repair, and we've had a lot of success with that. So even if you don't have perfect credit, I think it's still worth trying and getting that ball rolling. I would have to say that you don't get nothing for nothing. So if you have zero on your bank account, credit repair is probably not going to work for you. But
Right.
if you got your tax refund and you're looking at how to invest in yourself and in your future, I would say that definitely for $100 a month, 150 I think for a couple, you can have, in usually 3 months, you're
Good.
there. right?
Ready
They've
to go.
cleaned up everything that they can, and sky's the limit. So ideally, we want to put everybody off with some momentum.
Right.
And even a lot of the people that once I do get them up to a 580, I don't just write the loan and then see you later. Ideally, I'm coaching them so that after they've made 6 payments on that loan, they can come back and do a better refinance.
Yeah,
Their
definitely.
credit's going to be a 650 now instead of a 580. Compensating factors are different. So those are just some of the things that we want to encourage buyers. If they want to own a home,
Right.
let us lead you there.
I'll leave you home.
You'll lead me home, right?
Where's interest rates going? That's a huge
Yikes.
question that I'm always getting. And
Well-
right now, with everything going on in the world, I tell people I don't have a crystal ball. Like, I can't tell you what's going on and what's not going to go on. But what are you seeing? Like, they're changing
Yeah.
daily, aren't
Yeah,
they?
it's very volatile. I'd have to say they're going to have nowhere to go but up.
Yeah.
But it's just like a heartbeat. You're going to have some of this happening, but I think overall it's going to be an incline up, at least probably for a year or so.
But you're still looking at, like, I remember when we were at six and a
Yeah.
half.
5.75, 6,
Yeah.
6.25.
That was, and we thought we were doing good.
Yeah.
So you're not anticipating anything crazy like
I know
that.
I could be,
Yeah.
So I mean, if
Well,
so,
gas prices are almost $5.
so once you've closed a loan with Homestead, you're a member of our client privilege package, so you can always come back and refinance. If you buy a home, you're under contract, I'm going to lock you immediately, or that you should be locked immediately. That's something you
Right.
should make sure that you're having done. And then if the market gets better during that 30 or 20 or 30, 40 days,
Right.
then we can unlock them and relock them for the better. So our goal is to send you off with the best
Right.
possible scenario, but I think there's some urgency in, if you're looking to buy,
Absolutely.
I'd buy sooner than later. I think we haven't overbuilt. We're not writing a bunch of higher loan to value, riskier loans.
Right.
Like everybody gets a loan, like it was in 2005, 2006, and 7.
Right.
So we haven't done that. So I don't think property values are going to fall like they would have in a big
I
blow
agree
up.
with you.
If something does happen in the economy and we have
Right.
war going on across the world, it doesn't have as big of effect on the real estate part because we haven't done those other few things.
Right.
Yeah, gas prices are up. Yeah, the stock market's shaky. But luckily, we haven't overbuilt and written a bunch of risky
Right.
loans.
I know.
So
So I think I agree with you. I think we're good. People are just going to have to, like you said, if you're ready to buy, if you see that house that you want and it's on the market, now's the time.
So with interest rates, so is rents going up.
I
right?
know, I just seen that on the news. Florida went double. Well, we're not in Florida, unfortunately, but they doubled in like the last 6 months. So they're homeless. They're going homeless.
Yeah.
So they were $700 rent, and now they're $1,500 in 6 months
I
time.
know.
And
That's the part that's scary.
yes,
right?
rent is crazy. Like
I
they're
have a
getting
14-year-old. I'm thinking, will she be in the house for the next 14 years?
Right.
It may be. It may be a thing like, is it England, where you don't inherit necessarily a home, you inherit a mortgage, because they do 90-year
Right.
mortgages over there. So
90-year mortgage.
90-year mortgages.
Yeah,
So
but they're
that was-
castles and stuff,
Right,
right?
maybe so. I don't know. But we don't know what Dogecoin is, and we really don't know anything about it. We've decided that. We probably need to chalk up on
Right,
Dogecoin and 90-year mortgages. So thanks for everybody who tuned in today with me and Cindy. We love doing this, and hopefully it shows. Feel free to message us, or if you have questions off to the side, we love answering questions. So hit us up with questions. Maybe the next time we do this, we'll go through those questions and
Oh, absolutely. That'd
help
be fun.
bring all this full circle.
Right. And if you don't know, we do have a billboard together. So go check that out. It's in Ashley on 127, I think it is.
And she's really not as tall as me.
Yeah, there's a box involved.
Thanks, guys.
Call me. I'll lead you home.